Hi everyone, it's James here at Imbue Holistic Healing. Tried to record a video this morning actually in the Reiki studio. It just wasn't working. So we've come outside, come on a walk, and it's gone nice and sunny, which in England in January is a good thing. So that's hopefully good news for this to be a more successful video. Yesterday I was doing something I haven't done before, which is mulch fruit trees. We're lucky to live in a rural area with some land, with some fruit trees, and they haven't been performing that well, at least they didn't last year. So the idea was to cut away some of the growth around them, trim them out a little bit, and then mulch them with some homemade compost, with the idea that next year, or this year rather, they'll produce some better fruit for us. So it got me thinking about the journey that I've been on over the last sort of at least 18 months, but probably longer than that realistically. So just over 18 months ago, we moved from city centre in the UK, but probably 2 years prior to that, myself and my partner had been discussing about actually getting somewhere that's more rural. And one of the main reasons behind that was because we'd almost become a little bit fixated on wanting to grow our own vegetables, our own food. And the idea behind that was we'd been watching lots of videos on YouTube and other places where it appeared to us that a lot of the food we buy in the UK, at least anyway, I'm sure it's the case around the globe though, has lots of levels of pesticides in them. And so our idea was that, well, perhaps we should just grow our own things. One, it'd be pretty fun to do, and two, we could grow stuff that we know for certain hasn't had any issues with coming into contact with harmful pesticides. So that's what we've done, and I thought I'd talk to you about the importance of that in this video. So I had to stop for a second because otherwise I would have been fallen face first into a pool of mud and water, which wouldn't make for a good video. Anyway, so we've been growing things now for just over or just under 18 months. How do I feel from growing organic food? Well, it's fantastic to see it. I'm really pleased with what we've managed to grow. We've managed to grow cauliflowers, potatoes, broccoli, strawberries, plums, pears, apples, a variety of different things. And frankly, when we're eating things like carrots, for example, the taste difference is massive compared to things that you can buy in the supermarket. But why is that important? Why am I telling you about this anyway? Well, from my perspective, and just to put this first of all, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a scientist, I'm certainly not a doctor, but I believe that if we can eat more natural things, the chance of us getting diseases that are harmful to our health and to our longevity, I think will be reduced. So my thinking is that organic food is better. And in fairness, there's a lot of studies, which I won't cite here, but you can go and Google them online. There's lots of studies which show actually a lot of food which is grown on a commercial scale using pesticides can be linked to poor health outcomes, one of which potentially being cancer. The other thing though with pesticide use as well is some pesticides can actually have an effect on our endocrine system. And one job of the endocrine system is releasing hormones into the body, and the studies that show that hormone levels have been affected by pesticide exposure, and one of the effects has been, from one particular study, showing that actually it can cause depression. So actually, not only is it important for our physical health that we don't have too much pesticides within our body, it's actually quite important from a mental health point of view as well. From a physical point of view, toxins can build up in the body, and to be frank, we don't have enough research really on how this stuff may affect us long term. But it makes sense if we can avoid things that may be potentially harmful, we should try to do that so that we can benefit our own health. But if we're exposed to certain things that sit within our body, the organ that has to deal with those the most is the liver. The liver has to get rid of all the toxins within our body. And one thing potentially, I guess, that could happen is that if we're not getting rid of those, actually we can have quite a buildup of toxins within our body, and that will affect our physical health and how our body operates. So one of the other things I think we can consider is that when we're thinking about eating, is that, of course, the food we eat provides energy for us, provides physical energy, it builds and repairs the muscles in our body. When we eat food, on a metaphysical level, we get energy from that food. I'm not talking about physical energy here, but we get a sort of sense of life force from that food. And one of the things I think about is actually, if we're eating food that has been contaminated, how good is the energetic life force of that food? How is that going to impact on our mood? How's it going to make us feel? Is it going to make us more depressed, which I've mentioned already in terms of some studies? Are we going to feel better or worse by eating food that's had pesticides? So I think eating organic food is important from that point of view as well, as that helps you look after both your physical health, but also your spiritual health and mental health as well. So I appreciate not everyone can live in the countryside, and not everyone's fortunate to have land where they can grow their own things. But I know that a lot of people will perhaps resonate with some of the things that I'm saying and think more about, okay, I probably need to try and eat more organic food. So there's an organization called PAN. Just remind myself what that stands for. It's the Pesticide Action Network UK. And they take data that's from UK government studies, and they produce a couple of lists. One is called the Dirty Dozen, and the other is called the Clean 15. So the Dirty Dozen is a list of 12 fruits and vegetables that contain the highest levels of residual pesticides in them. And the Clean 15 is a list of, as you might guess, 15 fruits and vegetables that have a much lower level of residual pesticides. So the lists aren't infallible. They're still going to provide a list of things that still contain residual levels of pesticides. We don't know really long term how those pesticides may affect us, but they're a good starting point so that you can look out and be aware of things that might contain high levels of pesticides that you want to avoid, and then perhaps things that are considered cleaner that you can more happily potentially eat and not have to be so concerned about. So just while I'm walking and talking, one thing I thought about was, what about free food? And obviously I'm out here in nature now. There's lots of plants, trees and life around us. Actually, soon enough, as we come into spring, there'll be one plant that is, if you're in England, it's absolutely abundant everywhere, is nettle. Yeah, stinging nettle, believe it or not, you can eat. Not raw, obviously, for obvious reasons, it'll sting you, but you can wilt it down quite easily in a pan, kind of treat it as you would something like spinach. Stinging nettle actually has far more nutrients, vitamins, and minerals than something like spinach, and that's something that's free. Common sense says you need to be careful about where you get it from. Don't go anywhere dangerous to get it, like on the side of a road. And obviously, you need to be aware of where you're picking things. You need to make sure that it's not in an area that's polluted. But nettle is something that's absolutely fantastic. And the reason I'm thinking about that in particular is because when I discovered 12 months ago that you can eat nettle, I remember making a nettle pesto. Actually, once I ate it, I felt a noticeable difference in my energy levels straight away from eating it. So I think it's just worth pointing out that there are some things that you can get for free that are absolutely fantastic in terms of their nutrient density, and are easily obtainable. Something else which I thought was quite interesting when I was doing a bit of research for thinking about what I was going to say in this video. There were some people that I watched on social media and read, and were talking about how organic food is probably not as good for us as we think. And it was quite negative about organic food. And uh, for me, I think there's a lot of misinformation out on lots of different social media platforms. But I suppose from a common sense point of view, I think if you're going to eat something and you've got the choice between eating something which has been chemically treated, with the idea primarily that it produces a better crop and a higher yield. So we're not talking about better human health or better health benefits or anything more nutritious. Or you've got the option of eating something that, okay, it's naturally grown, so it's probably going to have some bugs that have nibbled on it, some flies that have landed on it, but it hasn't had any sort of chemicals, any chemical treatment that may affect potentially your physical health or your mental health. Common sense for me surely says that actually eating organic has to be better. Why wouldn't it be? So in the work I do with herbs, I know there's lots of different herbs that can benefit the body. I've already talked about nettle, some of the benefits nettle can offer, but there's other herbs as well. Another one that comes to mind, just while I'm walking out and I've just seen one, is dandelion, which is fantastic for the liver, for the urinary system as well. But one thing herbs I think can't do, although they can help us, support us in terms of restoring balance and reducing some symptomatic issues and helping to restore nutrients and vitamins and minerals in the body. Nothing really can take the place of making sure that your diet overall is good and nutritious and benefits you. One of the ways I know herbs though work very well is because when I work with spirit, particularly when I do Reiki on people, one of the ways that spirit connects with me is through giving me impressions, feelings, and images about herbs or foods that someone really needs to eat. And I've had a couple of experiences where I've just been shown things that people need at that point in time. And I'll share videos with you on specific experiences I've had. But I know that's one thing, or that is certainly one way of showing me where herbs, foods are very important in order that we can maintain as close to naturally perfect health as possible. So I'll be doing some more videos soon in terms of health and spirituality. If there's anything that you want me to talk about in particular, feel free to drop a comment below. But in the meantime, if you want to know anything more about me, the way I work with people, what I do, and the benefits I can offer, please visit www.imbuholistichealing.com. Follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and also TikTok.